Here.
Vice Mayor Epps.
Here.
Councilman Albright.
Here.
All present.
All right, would everyone please stand for a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. All right. Item 1, consider approval of agenda as presented. Do you have any additions or subtractions from the agenda?
No changes.
Changes. Do I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second.
All right, all vote. All right.
No, wait a minute. Do that again. The box wasn't turned on. I can't do everything up here.
Need to vote again?
Yeah.
All right, motion and second, all vote.
Have 5 yes votes, motion carried.
All right, old business. Item 2, consider approval of minutes of council meeting held on April 4th, 2013. Motion for approval of the minutes.
So moved.
Second.
All vote.
5 yes votes, motion carried.
All right, on to new business. Consider approval to purchase 2012 Chevrolet Impala pre-owned for the police department. Sponsor is Chief Bob Terry.
Mayor and council, we're replacing one of our investigators' cars, and we typically have been buying used vehicles, pre-owned automobiles, and the one that they've selected is the one listed here, 2012 model Chevrolet that's with below Kelly Blue Book value, which meets the state standard and statutes. And I ask for your approval.
Thank you, Chief.
And by the way, that is bought out of the drug fund, so it's not Mr. Shipley likes very much.
Your slush fund, right?
Yeah.
So a motion for approval.
So moved.
Second.
Questions, comments from council?
No.
All right, all vote.
Have 5 yes votes, motion carried.
Item 4, consider approval to purchase the forensics computer software from Digital Reconnaissance for the police department. Sponsors Chief Bob Terry.
Mayor and council, this is a sole source item. It is something we've been doing in conjunction with the Metropolitan Police Department in Nashville. They obtained the grant, and we're participating in it. The total will be, it'll be refunded, reimbursed, and it's part of our Internet Crimes Against Children. And it's, I hope you don't ask anything about it because it's a little bit beyond my reach to explain it.
You just know it works.
I guarantee it works, I promise you.
We get our money back for it, you know that.
Yes, sir.
Real stupid. That's good.
All right, do I have a motion for approval first?
So moved.
Second.
Questions?
Chief Terry, one of the things that I've heard and I have not experienced, but I've heard that the internet forensics that our department has been doing has been top notch. And is this how is this going to improve?
Well, what this will do is, as I understand it, we'll be able to forensically examine hard drives and look for things, and to basically do a lot of things that we now send off to the TBI for them to do. It goes hand in hand with everything we've been doing. I don't know if that answers your question.
Well, and the other thing too, of course, anytime you add technology like this, we got to have the personnel that and the education to drive it. Do you have?
We've got. I know
that?
2 of our people have been to Secret Service school in, I believe it was Alabama, someplace. We sent 2 pretty smart guys, and they came back saying it's a pretty tough school. So yeah, it's their classmates were Secret Service agents from different bureaucracies.
Very good. This is obviously one of the forensics in technology crime is amazing, and I really appreciate your department being on top of this, and I plan to approve it most heartily.
I would have to take an opportunity. They are doing excellent. Great work with the ICAC unit.
And of course, this is a grant money, right?
Yes, it's a grant.
Yeah. So, This is great.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
No more questions.
This is definitely something we have to stay ahead of, that's for sure. So, anything else? Seeing none, I'll vote.
5 yes votes, motion carried.
Thank you, Chief. All right, item 5. Consider awarding bid for building renovations for Public Works facility at 1115 East Spring Street. Sponsors, Mr. Greg Brown.
Mayor and council, we recently advertised and received bids for the renovation of the Ford building for the new public works facility. King Construction was the low bidder. Upon evaluating the bids, it was discovered that one of the subcontractors listed to do the plumbing work was not licensed to do that work. So and that also violates state contracting law. After consulting with Mr. Rader, it's our recommendation that we reject all the bids and rebid the project.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. We have a motion for approval.
Motion to reject the bids and rebid.
Yes.
Second.
All right. Questions, comments, discussion?
I do, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
In your opinion, the rebid, does that how will that change the rebid process? Do you think it will
I don't know.
come back basically the same? I mean, the difference between a licensed contractor using a licensed plumber versus unlicensed plumber. I mean, 1-2 is
Well, he could not use the unlicensed plumber anyway.
Right.
You have to have a license.
Right.
And the contract law says you have to have a subcontractor listed to do each work. They have to be licensed to do that work, and that was not the case.
I guess if King Construction won the bid without a licensed plumber, Cumbie Construction or the nearest bid to that, did they have a licensed plumber?
Yes.
With the reason is, why don't we just go with Cumbie? Or is there a chance that we could still? I worry that the price may go up significantly.
That's a possibility. It may go down. The difference in prices between, as you can see, between King and Cumbie was about $85,000
Right.
roughly.
One thing I think that Mr. Brown had discussed, and I think they're going to do, is maybe change the bid process a little bit to modify the alternates to try to get more favorable bids. And I think that is one change in the scope of work that will help out. I know this has happened over at the Board of Education a time or two, and we've had to reject all the bids and rebid when that happened, and we changed the scope a little bit. But in each of those instances, we've always gotten lower bids the second time. So I think with this irregularity, definitely the low bidder is disqualified and cannot participate in the
Right.
rebid. But hopefully we'll get more competitive bidding, and with the changes on the alternates, we may get a better project too. So I think that's I really, your choice is to either accept the second bid or to reject all the bids and rebid. Those are really the only two choices you have tonight.
But according to your counsel, Mr. Rader, that you feel like that, and Mr. Brown, you feel like the rebid process would not endanger us having a bid come back at significantly higher. I guess that's the guidance I'm asking is if you.
There's
I wouldn't think so,
There's no
but
way
you
to
never know.
predict that. There's no way to predict that.
But in your opinion,
Well, unfortunately, if it stops here, we're the ones that need to try to make that decision. That should we go ahead and say that this bid process needs to stop? We need to go ahead and accept this 1.3 because that's a good bid at a good price, or do we need to reject all the bids and go back and take the risk of maybe it coming back at significantly higher? And I'm asking for guidance. And what I'm hearing from you, Mr. Rader, is that your suggestion is, or your recommendation is that we should do rebid.
I will just have to. I can just tell you my own personal experience, and
I
that
understand.
at the school system, I had the same concerns you did. That I thought once everybody saw everybody else's bid, then they knew kind of where they were, and the bids would be higher because they felt like they had some elasticity to do it. But just the opposite occurred, and I know in the last when we bid the last school system, we ended up getting a bid and saving $7 million off the estimate of construction. So just the contrary of what my fear was took place. But the economy is different, and it just depends on how many bidders you attract, and it's also going to depend on how Mr. Brown and Mr. Shipley to decide to reconfigure this and redo the alternates, because I think that was one of the main things, is try to tweak the project some to make it more attractive. And we want to be fair to everybody. And of course, Mr. Cumbie and W&O and Thatcher can all, if they want to, can all rebid, and maybe we'll get some other bidders too. So it's just a choice the council has to make. But there are no guarantees, Mr. Epps. There's no guarantees.
Great. No, I appreciate I appreciate that advice, and I understand that. We're on the same page. My concern is, again, if we rebid this, if it comes back higher, then we've lost a good bid. But
in a month or so,
I depend on people telling me, and I appreciate your expertise in this area. So I'll go ahead and vote to rebid with your blessings. So.
Go with the lawyer.
Well, I don't,
I think it's disappointing this happened because this puts us behind a month at least,
Yeah.
doesn't it?
Yeah.
So we got to do the right thing.
But, yeah, and we need to do it clean,
Clean.
Sure.
keep it.
Yes. Sure, absolutely.
Yeah, and we feel like all bidding parties are quality bidding
Yeah,
outfits. It was an
oversight, okay.
oversight mistake, whatever it was, but the law is black and white.
Sure.
Yeah,
And it's something that we have to do. We have to go by what the law states, and we feel like the right thing to do.
yeah.
Well, and I would also say on a project of this magnitude, I think you'd really, if you can, it'd really be preferable to have more than two legitimate bidders.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that would be good too. All right. Anything else?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm ready to vote, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Any questions, comments from anyone? All right. Seeing none, all vote.
Have 5 yes votes, motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Item 6, consider awarding bid for personal protection equipment. Sponsors Fire Department Chief Roger Fuquay.
Mayor, Council, we recently advertised and received bids for turnout gear. We bid 11 sets, and NAFCO was a low bid, meeting specs at $18,920, and I recommend we accept that bid.
Thank you, Chief. Do I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second.
Any questions, comments?
Chief, are these, what's the life, you have to replace these, every 5 years? Or is there-
The standard, there's a lot to the standard, but after 10 years, you can't use them for anything.
10 years?
Yeah.
So that's a requirement, 10 years at least.
Yes.
Right.
There's a lot of other stipulations that go into it,
Okay.
but that's the max.
Sure.
Seeing none, all vote.
5 yes votes, motion carries.
Thank you.
Item 7, consider approval of pump repair at the Booger Swamp Pumping Station. Sponsors Mr. Ronnie Kelly.
Mayor, I've got one of your favorite subjects, Booger Swamp, so we'll go through that. We're requesting authorization to make payment for pump repair parts that we've had to order for one of our 4 pumps that located at the Booger Swamp Pump Station. The impeller on one of the 4 pumps located at the station needs to be replaced due to wear. We've contacted Guthrie Sales and Service, which is the Fairbanks pump representative, and have ordered the material needed to replace the impeller. Due to delivery dates, we have ordered the parts because of the reduced flow of at the station. The cost of the parts total $16,887. Sole source purchase back from the manufacturer, and we'd recommend approval.
Thank you, Mr. Kelly. A motion for approval.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions, comments? Seeing none, all vote.
Have 5 yes votes, motion carries.
I was thinking about an amendment just to change the name from Booger Swamp to something
We
else.
tried that on Monday, Larry, and they wouldn't let me do it, so.
Thank you
Then,
for trying, Al.
I did,
I
but
appreciate you asking because
Booger Swamp it is, Booger Swamp it'll stay.
What it's always been.
We need to give Jeff Littrell, he had I don't know where he's back there. We need to give him, he needs to give the history of Booger Swamp. He's got a book that sort of gives you the whole how that all came about.
There's a book.
It's in a history of Putnam County. It sort of gives you the whole history. It's sort of interesting.
Nice.
And so the status moves up. It's in the book.
Oh, it's a scary story.
Mr. Littrell,
It's bona fide.
next meeting.
We want a
I want it
PowerPoint.
scary. It needs to be a scary story with ghosts.
All right, on to item 8. Consider approval of water treatment plant engineering contract amendment number 3. Sponsors Mr. Ronnie Kelly.
Okay. Mayor and council, seeking council approval for an amendment to the engineering contract on our water treatment plant project with Consolidated Technologies. City Council entered into an engineering agreement with CTI in August 2010 to perform the professional engineering services in connection with the design and construction phase of the upgrading of the existing treatment plant. After the projects were bid and opened, the City Council rejected all bids. Council then approved an engineering amendment number 1, which totaled $21,000 to redesign and rebid that project. The first bid contained a 10-month contract construction schedule. And during the second bid, the bid form requested that the contractors enter an amount into the bid form for a 12-month construction schedule versus a 10-month construction schedule. The low bidder offered a $30,000 deduct if the City of Cookeville selected to choose the 12-month construction schedule. Council approved the rebid project and accepted the contractor's $30,000 deduct for a 12-month project. The original engineering contract that was negotiated was on a 10-month construction schedule, so a second engineering contract amendment was required. Engineering contract number 2, amendment number 2, was approved by the council, which added $27,000 to the engineering contract to take care of that additional 2 months. The increase in the engineering contract was offset by the $30,000 deduct that the contractor gave us for those extra 2 months. Let's see where we are. The original project construction schedule was scheduled for completion on March 15, 2013. That completion date was extended to April 12, 2013, per our City Council approved construction change order. The approved engineering fees were sufficient to cover the engineering cost up to that April 12th extended construction contract time. The contractor's construction schedule now indicates a completion date of June of 13. This will necessitate an engineering contract amendment number 3 with the engineering company to increase the fees to cover the remainder of the project. So engineering contract number 3 adds 3 additional months in whole or prorated as partial months of engineering services to reach the completion of the project. The construction contract allows for the City of Cookeville to charge liquidated damage for each consecutive calendar day of delay until the project is substantially completed. The amount stipulated in the contract is $500 per calendar day. Assuming that no days are added to the construction contract by change order, the $500 per day liquidated damage will cover the additional fees contained in this amendment number 3. The construction contractor has also requested that they deviate from their established work schedule, which is established in the contract, to work overtime to try to finish the project. Per the construction contract, any additional cost incurred by the City of Cookeville due to the deviation from the established work week will be borne by the contractor. The construction contract documents state that the City of Cookeville is to deduct as a separate line item on the contractor's next progress pay request, unless otherwise stated, the engineer's field representative's time at $60 per hour for regular time and $90 per hour for overtime. To accommodate this, the engineer's request to accommodate the contractor's request to deviate from their established schedule, part number 4 of this engineering agreement states that all overtime above 40 hours worked per week by the engineer will be invoiced at the rate of $74.21 per hour, which the City of Cookeville will collect from the contractor in accordance with the terms of the agreement of the contract documents. And so we're asking your approval for this change. And this is sort of a visual of sort of the original contract time was 10 months. We added, keep going. 10 months. We added 2 months to the contract. We did a change order with the contractor, gave him 28 days. We had enough engineering time to take care of that. The contractor's now projected that they won't be done until June, and so we've got to cover this amount of time with engineering services on the project, and so that's sort of what we're talking about. We'd recommend your approval.
If you care to start over, I really wouldn't. Do I have a motion for approval?
I move that we approve the water treatment plant engineering contract amendment number 3.
Second.
Questions, comments?
Well, you stole my joke. I was
Sorry.
going to ask you to
Sorry.
repeat.
And this addition is calendar days, not work days, right?
Consecutive days.
What's the difference?
Are you talking about the damages
Yeah,
clause?
the damage
Consecutive
clause.
days.
Consecutive days.
Consecutive calendar days.
Calendar days. Okay.
What's the difference?
So the net effect, the city's not hopefully going to be on any additional money.
Net effect-
The contractor's going to pay for the addition of the engineering firm.
That's right. Unless for whatever reason, they are due some additional days on their project.
Any questions, comments?
I just want, yeah, Ronnie, I just guess I just kind of want the cliff notes
Okay.
on this.
That was the cliff notes.
Yeah, that was. Yeah, I tried to keep it
I guess
short.
Jim, Mr.
sweet.
Councilman Woodford, I guess, gave us the cliff notes there that we're incurring extra days, but the cost can be borne by the engineering corporation unless
Not the engineer.
They're-
Not the
not
engineer,
the contractor. I'm sorry,
contractor.
not the contractor, unless it goes above and beyond the call of duty.
Well, unless for
Unless
whatever,
we change something and it costs more.
unless the
causes more time.
contractor's awarded additional days.
I don't want to give additional days. I want to get it done.
By who?
No.
Yeah, by who?
Who's going to award the contractor additional
Right,
days?
Right now, we have denied any additional days.
Yeah, but who could award him additional days?
I think the city council could do that if
He's
they
not
so
getting any
chose.
advice from me.
All right, we have a motion and a second. I'm ready to move on.
Yeah.
I don't feel comfortable with it.
I just
No, I meant with the project. All right, I'll vote.
Have 5 yes votes, motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kelly. Item 9, consider awarding bid for transformers, wire, and concrete foundations for the Business Industrial Park. The Electric Department sponsor, Mr. Tony Peak.
Mayor and councils, if it pleases the council, I'll address these 3 items collectively. On the first item, for the 50 kVA pad-mounted transformers, I'd recommend Utilicore as the low evaluated bidder meeting specs. On the next item is for some underground primary cable. I'd recommend Stuart C. Irby as the low bidder meeting specs, $2.40 per foot. And on the third and final item is for the concrete foundations in the industrial park. This is for the contractor to install the wire cages in the holes that we dig and tie the steel, install the bolts and the templates, pour, vibrate, and form the concrete that we need them to do. And I'd recommend Earthborn as the low bidder meeting specs, $71,646. Recommend your approval on all 3 items.
Thank you, Mr. Peak. We have a motion for approval.
So moved.
Second.
Questions, comments? Council? All right, seeing none. All vote.
Have 5 yes votes, motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Peak. This portion of the meeting, we like to open the floor to anyone who would like to come forward and speak. Got anything on their mind, good, bad, ugly?
Hope it's not over.
I hope not, too, but if nothing else, council?
I accept.
I wanted to make a comment about Dogapalooza. I don't know how many people attended it, but it was well attended, and there were people and dogs all over Dogwood Park, and I just thought it was a great event and a good way to start the spring. It happened to be a beautiful day, and I really appreciate that we live in a town that tries to improve the quality of living for all of our people and pets too. Activities, and just that that we support that kind of activity. It was just a really wonderful day.
I have a save the date, June the 22nd for Wine on the West Side. Everybody buy your tickets. They're on sale now. And also, I don't know if any of you are aware, but last week Chief Fuquay celebrated a birthday.
Nice. Happy 30th. Yes, sir.
Again.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I actually just want to take a moment just for a personal moment. I'd like to first of all apologize for all the questions that I had today because I missed the council meeting. As many of you know, the reason why I missed the council meeting, you ask lots of questions when you're not there at the work sessions, okay? The reason why I missed the work sessions is because, as most of you know, we spent some time in Boston. We were blessed enough to watch my wife. I was blessed enough to watch my wife run the Boston Marathon, and I wanted to thank everybody for their cards, their comments, their emails, their tweets, their text messages of support from my wife and I. That was a horrific moment, especially in my wife's life, and it was certainly a terrible moment that I had the opportunity to experience. And I want to thank each and every one of you there that had your prayers and thoughts out there for us. And lastly, I just want to mention that we have a tendency to be a little insulated because we live here in Cookeville, and we are blessed here to be in Cookeville. But indeed, when items like this happen, these are our neighbors. Stuff like this happens, and it's just not about us. It's about our neighbors, and I would hope that you would remember them in your thoughts and prayers, and the folks that are going through the very difficult time with that. But most of all, I want to thank each and everybody for your thoughts and prayers.
We're grateful you made it back safe and sound.
Yes, thank you.
All right. We'll adjourn on that one.